by the live stream just behind me.
Flying High is saying we can hear you both. Aren't you lucky? We're so lucky that we're nice people.
So if you look at this, you could see that this lens is just absolute garbage. I mean, look at the chromatic aberration way out there in the back. I mean, this is just, look at the corner sharpness. I mean, seriously. Dude, and I don't know what camera they used here because, like, there's so much noise in the shadows. I mean...
What about the A7S we've just bought? I can't wait to get that.
Gosh. Hey, guys. So, check this out. I was doing a little pixel peeping, as you can see, because we all do this, right? We get our jeweler's binoculars out and pixel peep our magazines. I mean, we're going to go into pixel peeping a little bit later. So... I know you guys could hear us over in the chat. Sorry about that. We'll fix that later. But this is Behind the Photo. I am your host, Aron J Anderson, along with David Oastler. Hey, David, how are you doing?
How are you going? See, the bad part about all this is Aron does not show me what he's doing, and so I'm just like you guys, and that was a cracker.
Yeah.
You know what? I can picture a lot of people in their basements, they'd be in their grandmother's basements doing that pixel peeping.
No. Yeah. Pixel peeping's gone too far if you're doing that to magazines. We'll talk about that later. So, hey, everybody. Thank you for, checking this out. This is our 4th episode. A little bit of hiccups. But David, your audio sounds good, so that you're not hearing any echo like you were last time?
No, but 42 Pro says got a slight echo on mine. Oh. I can't hear it, but...
Hey, Gerald, how you doing? Thank you guys for coming in chat. So this is Behind the Photo, the #1 live streaming, most exciting show you'll ever see on YouTube. And we are your hosts, and what we do in this show is we take a photo, we show you behind the scenes and how we got that, but not only that, we talk about gear news, we do tutorials, questions and answers, and we hang out and have a good old time. And so just tell you guys a little bit what I did since the last show. Nothing too exciting, except yesterday me and my wife went to Old San Juan in Puerto Rico, and I wanted to try out the Sony 85mm f1.8 against the Zeiss 55mm f1.8, and I know it's apples and oranges, but I just wanted to see what the difference was. But it ended up raining and all this stuff, so I didn't get too many tests out there. So nothing too exciting for me this week. How about you? Well, we know... We know a little bit of excitement of you, David. So what did you do yesterday?
Oh, let me know if the echo's gone, because I've done a different adjustment. I got in trouble because I went out and bought a new camera. If you've watched my yesterday's telethon live stream where I was trying to get some money to pay it back before Kerry got her hands on it. So I had to basically tell her that I was buying this yesterday. I told her about it last night after I'd given her some flowers and cooked her an amazing dinner. But she just rolled her eyes. She just did the usual, the eye roll that they give us.
That's too funny.
But apart from that, she's fine.
That's good. Yeah, we were all wondering. We were all praying for you. We actually had a GoFundMe for you and everything. It was quite funny. Okay, so just to let you guys know, today we are drinking coffee at the Biltmore. And this, if you guys never seen the Biltmore, let me show you a video I did like almost 10 years ago. Let's see if I can show you this real quick. This is an amazing place. If you guys want to go anywhere, check this video out here. We'll just do it real quick, just a couple seconds. So anyways, I just wanted to share that real quick. If you guys ever want to go on a vacation somewhere in the United States, Asheville, North Carolina, the Biltmore, it's a beautiful place. I filmed that 10 years ago on a GH2 at night, so you could tell the video's not that good, but check that place out. And David, did you want to get into the first story of the evening?
Yes, let me bring that up.
Let's go to...
is it the Zylight F8 field view
yes.
light?
Yes, that's what it is. LED lights. Now, you use an LED light on some of your stuff, don't you, David?
Yes, I do. Well, I'm using, I use a couple of different ones. I use the Roto Neo lights. I've got three of those actually that I use. I also use the Jerry Gionis Ice Light as well. I've got three of those that I like to use. And I've recently purchased the Profoto B10, which if you look at the last video I posted of Kiara in Melbourne was totally lit by that light in continuous light. So I didn't use the flash. It was all done through continuous light. How's the audio, guys, too? Is it still echoing? I'm just curious. I don't think I can do anything about it, but I'm just curious to know.
Sounds good on my end, David.
It must be a YouTube thing if it's echoing.
Let's see. Yeah, it sounds good on me. Everybody else here, David, fine? I'll bring up the chat over here.
So anyway, yeah, look, I've really switched over a lot to using continuous light now. I very rarely used to use it early on. I sort of specialised more in like flash work, but since the continuous light has got a lot better and a lot more powerful, I'm using it more and more now. And in some ways, it's easier because what you see is what you get, and that's the beauty of using that type of system where there's no guessing involved. You can also do the video and stills at the same time, which is a great advantage because you obviously can't light up a video with a flash.
Right.
So, it's fantastic. So I was curious to know about what do you think about this F8-200 light, Aaron?
Well, coming from predominantly video work, I actually started, when I started professional photography, been maybe 5 years ago. I've been photography for a long time, but started adding that to my repertoire. I was actually using video lights to light my subjects because I didn't have flash yet. So I'm really, I love constant light. Just like you said, you get to just move it and see how it looks. It looks great. You take the photo, pretty neat. But of course, we know if you have, I don't have a flash here with me, but a flash is so small in comparison to an LED panel or whatever, and the power that it outputs for its size is quite amazing. So I really started using flash instead of LED lighting for photography. And of course, if you're out in the daylight, it doesn't work so well. But like night shots like you were doing with Kiara the other evening there, I mean, they could work really good. And I might start getting back into the LED thing. Now, when I was looking at this thing, this is way over my price range, but what this is actually doing here is doing what I did also in video work, and that was using a cheap floodlights from work lights from Home Depot, and then putting stuff on them. And they're giving you about the same power as those, but you're not going to trip any breakers, because when we used to use those work lights, we'd actually have to plug in one set to this side of the house and the other set to the other side so that the breakers wouldn't trip. And so you're getting pretty close to the same output with this thing, which is really amazing. Then you got that Fresnel on there so you can kind of adjust the beam and all that. So it's the first time I saw something this heavy duty in the LED that actually is getting close to those work lights. And so I thought I'd share that. I thought it was pretty cool. And what was your take on LED lights in the day? Do you ever use them for fill or anything?
No, not really. See, I'm just trying to see if it says how bright these lights are.
Well, it says down here. Yeah, down here it says it's close to 2K. So 2K is pretty darn bright. I mean, like I said, those work lights I was using was about maybe 1,500 thousand or so. So it's getting pretty close to those. I'm pretty impressed.
Oh yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Yeah, the lights that I've got just aren't powerful enough to use during the day. I tend to use flash, and then I'll switch over to the continuous light sort of in the late afternoon. Once the power of the sun has disappeared, I can then start to add fill in. But they really work best, the ones that I've got anyway, work best when it's going into dusk and then sort of late.
Exactly.
Not during the day. I mean, it is going to happen. It's certainly going to get to the point where these lights are bright enough to use and everything during the day. There's some things I love about them. There's some things I don't love about them. If you're doing portraits, the obvious thing is that they're very hard to stare at because they're so bright.
That's the other
point. The iris can tend to really shrink as well.
Exactly.
So you don't get that lovely open iris like you'll get when you use flash. And the other thing is too, sometimes you need high-speed sync to overpower the sun and and to stop motion and things like that you can't really do with the continuous light. So I mean, there's benefits for it, and I think flash is still going to be around for a long time. Yeah, but you can see these continuous lights are going to be around. They're certainly going to be more useful as they get more powerful.
Yeah, I think that was cool, but I think the Roto light actually has a flash option on their LED, so
yes, it does.
You're not having the model like squinting before you even take the photo. When the flash goes off, no squinting involved there, so that's pretty cool. But this thing here is really expensive. It's like $2,500. This is for people who are really, are doing pro work and getting paid good to use these, and they're around 32K tungsten or daylight. I forget where I read that at. I got to read the thing. We're going to put all this stuff in the links in the description too. And batteries. Batteries seem to be expensive too for this thing. It's like $350 for batteries, and it only lasts an hour. It takes 2 batteries to last only an hour, so you could plug it in as well. But anyways, that's pretty much it for that one, and we are going to go to our next one. So this is just something I wanted to point out. Now, I had the original Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera. And I love that thing to death. To this day, it probably has the best, maybe not the best quality video, although it was great. It had the best color of any camera I've personally owned or used. Shooting in RAW, it was just gorgeous and just thick and rich, the quality of this. So I just wanted to point out the new Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K has just released the 6.1 firmware, and we'll leave a link in the description if you're interested in this. And here's all of the things that it fixed. It looked like the battery was quite an issue, so they went through here, and with this firmware they fixed the battery. So in the description you will find the link to that one. Just a little heads up. What you laughing at, David? Someone in a...
Oh, because people are commenting like Mario just put a comment on there about, I'm not seeing a black eye, David.
Oh, yeah. No, he survived. He survived.
It gets hard because I know half of these people that, followers both, that they have such a funny sense of humor, and I'm listening to you at the same time, but I'm also checking what's going on in the chat. That's the beauty of having two guys like us doing this, that one person can be looking at the chat. And it looks funny. It says, yes, David's mic is really hot and still a bit of echo. Yeah, I don't know why, because it's only showing up here at -6.
That might be on my side. I'm going to lower him down here. Say something, David.
Testing. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, that should bring you.
1, 2.
That should bring you down pretty good there. In the chat, let us know if that helped. I kind of seen that he was peaking here on my meters.
Now the echo could be just something because of the way this is working and it's going through live, because Aaron and myself can hear each other and there's no echo there. So it's obviously something to do on the YouTube side of things for some reason.
Well, I also
don't know why.
I muted my desktop audio, so maybe there was something coming through there. So let us know if that cleaned up the audio.
But anyway, the Blackmagic, it's an interesting camera. I tried this out recently. I just wanted to have a go of it, and I did actually use it, and it's a lot bigger than it actually looks. Like, the screen is massive on that camera. It's actually quite beautiful. It doesn't articulate or anything, but it was quite a big camera in your hand. It certainly felt different to, say, using the Sony gear that I use. The touch screen worked beautifully. Like, it was amazing how well that touch screen actually worked. The only thing with it was that it tended to be a little bit slow in focus, so that's one of the issues.
The old one too, the same kind of issues actually.
Echo's gone too, they're saying.
Yeah, that must be my desktop audio thing, so we got that figured out. Next time it won't happen, I promise. Let's look at, so that's the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera. And so was it bigger than the Sony A7 III?
Yeah, it's quite a bit bigger. Like, it really does feel substantial in your hand. Like I said, the screen was really, really beautiful, but there's a couple of issues too. There's no EVF on that, so if you are shooting in bright conditions, it's going to be not very good, because you get a lot of glare that you have to deal with. And I do often use the EVF when I'm filming video, particularly. But they do certainly make nice gear. Their video quality is fantastic. They have great frame rates. They have the actual size of the videos is fantastic. I think you
The
can
price
do
is
RAW on
good.
this as well. The price, yeah, is fantastic. The bit rates are very, very good.
Apple
so they are
ProRes.
a really good camera. Yeah, Apple ProRes. Yep.
Great.
So that they definitely have a place in the market, and at least it's a bit of a niche type of camera that they've built that's different to anything else. It's probably not something that I would buy, but it was certainly good to have a play around with it.
Yeah, it's good if you're a filmmaker and on a budget, because this is like, if you want to shoot RAW, this is the camera that'll get that for you. Okay.
Well, Trevor said in there too, he goes, I'm shooting on the Pocket 4K, and the quality of the video is just marvelous.
Yeah, the original one was. Like I said, I've had many cameras, and today it was my favorite video quality coming out of any camera. It was quite amazing. It's funny how they still call it the pocket camera when it's no longer pocketable. But
I can't remember though. What lens are on that? Is it Micro Four Thirds?
Yes, it's Micro Four Thirds. I just used my Panasonic lenses on there and Olympus lenses, and it worked great. It was really nice.
That's fantastic. Everyone's saying the audio is good now, so we've solved that problem.
Yes, I know. Now I know what to do over there. It's because I wanted to play that little intro to the Biltmore, and so I had my audio on. Okay, next little runner up here, and this is 2 more Canon RF full-frame mirrorless lenses coming this year. My gosh, Canon has been just like knocking these lenses out. Wouldn't you say? I mean, whew.
I know, it's incredible when you think how many lenses, like Sony have been pretty quick as well. If you think how many lenses we've got now in the Sony realm, it didn't take long to get them out, but Canon really is, kicking goals here with their lenses that they're announcing, and they seem to be announcing them very, very quickly. It's just a pity they can't do that with their bodies, get decent bodies out. But the glass itself is amazing, and it really is fantastic if you're looking at it. They're saying here that they're going to have the 100 to 400. There's going to be a 70 to 300. There's a 15 to 35, 24-70. Excuse me. 70 to 200. There's a 24 to 240, and there's also, these are 2 lenses I'd love to look at. There's an 85 1.2, and there's also an 85 1.2 as well that has that special defocusing that I would love to have a go at. I can't remember the actual term that it comes up with. Well, it just says DS.
Yeah, Olympus uses on their Pro line 45 millimeter f1.2. They use that. I forget what they call it as well, but it really does kind of. I don't think it gives you more bokeh, but what it does is take the bokeh balls and just smooths them out, and it really does look really nice. So if that's kind of the same thing they're going with this, the way they do the aperture blades and all that or something, it's going to look really, really spectacular. Now, do you think they're building these lenses first before they come out with their Pro mirrorless? Yeah. Because a lot of times people are making, companies are coming out with the body with like 2 lenses, and everybody's like, who's going to buy that with only 2 lenses? So I think Canon came out with some cheaper cameras to use these while they're building that up, and then once they drop the bomb of the big one that everybody hopes they've been doing for years, that they'll have all the lenses ready to go. So that might be something up their sleeve.
Yeah, I think I would be surprised if they don't bring up a high-end Canon camera by the end of the year. I was getting so frustrated waiting for Sony to do something particular with a flip-out screen that I was almost tempted to buy the Canon RP, believe it or not, because it was nice and cheap, and I thought, look, at least it gives me a solution for doing vlogging and things like that. But I ended up just getting the A6 400, and I think that'll do me for the time being. But the lenses certainly tempt me.
Very tempting.
Particularly,
looks really good.
And I've used a couple of them. I used the 51.2, and that was stunning. It was unbelievably sharp. Like I said, I'd love to use the 85 1.2. I've always had a thing about the
you've
look
always
of that
said
lens.
that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'd love to have a go at that. In fact, I'm probably going to hire one soon and try out a Canon with the adapter, because I've got the MC11 adapter.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try and hire the Canon 85 1.2 and do a shoot with that, a portrait shoot or something like that. I'll see if I can get Kiara involved or something, just as a test, because I wouldn't charge someone for it. But I'd certainly love to do it and just see how it works. But their lenses are outstanding, and they do have a point of difference with what they're producing against what anyone else is producing, and it's interesting.
Yeah, it really is. Before we go, y'all, my friend in the chat, he says, why can't we tip the live chat? That's because living in Puerto Rico, there's some downfalls to a lot of things, and that's one of them is when I try to enable some of the things in YouTube, it says not available in your country. So thank you so much for even, mentioning that. I really appreciate you guys think about that. If you do want to donate, of course, there's the link in the description after the show. It might be up there right now if you really want to do that. It's to my PayPal, or David also puts his links up when he does the show. But since he's in Australia, they allow chat tipping. So thanks, man, a lot for that. Before we move on to the other things, I think there was another Canon lens right here. Is this is that? Yeah.
Yeah, this is incredible. But the look of these lenses are nuts.
Yeah, it's cool.
I mean, look, I know a lot of people are coming around saying yes, but there's going to be focus breathing because clearly this has to. We haven't seen it open yet, but it must be like the typical lens that will zoom out a little bit and zoom in to make it that size.
They all do, don't they? I mean,
yeah, well, they do. I like, again, everyone always comes up with saying, oh, yeah, this is going to happen. I've used a lot of lenses in my lifetime that have the zoom out, and I've never, ever had an issue with dust. So I don't know look, it might happen with some people, but it certainly hasn't happened with me.
I thought you meant focus breathing, like when you're focusing.
No, it's dust.
You're talking about the tromboning. Yeah, the tromboning effect. Yeah.
So because of the way it moves in and out like that, it can potentially suck dust in. And I can understand that people say that, but I've never had a problem with that. Now, some people may have had that issue, but I would buy that in a heartbeat if they brought that out for Sony, because I've always said to people that I love lenses that are very, very small that I can just put in one bag. Like a 70-200 takes a few spots. They're so big and cumbersome the second you put those in your case.
Look at that thing.
To be able to use the little one and have that only take one of the small pockets in your lens mount or your bag is incredible. And like I said, again, a point of difference with Canon here, that they've got a small mirrorless system, and now they're giving you smaller lenses as well that look like it's going to be a winner.
Yeah, it really is. And the tromboning thing, I've never had an issue either. And I've had a few. I didn't have a lot, but never had an issue with mine. And I would absolutely go for the small. I mean, if anybody has been following me anytime in the last 10 years, I love just small gear. It just makes me want to shoot more. If I have to have something heavy, I just it's a burden for me, just the way I shoot. So that right there, is just absolutely a winner in my book.
Oh, I think that too. Like, if you look at that size compared to the 70-200 next to it, it really is drastically different.
It is. I love it. I think it's gonna sell really good because the old thing about going mirrorless is to go smaller. It seems like it's kind of changing now where people don't care. But if you find a body like the Sony A7 III that fits me perfect, I would rather have a smaller lens than something bigger. Now, I have a friend that has the big Sigma 105, which is huge and heavy, but man, the quality out of that thing is amazing. So there's always kind of a trade-off, I think. So
you can go the opposite angle, and then you can go to Sigma, which tends to have really big lenses. Their lenses are quite big. Hopefully, Sigma.
But they're remarkable.
Yeah, they are. They're incredible lenses. But I think you're going to find Sigma soon, and they've admitted they're going to do that. We'll redesign those lenses around the Sony mount.
Yeah.
So they should be smaller, and that's going to be exciting if they can do that as well, because their lenses are incredible.
Yep, they are. Okay, anything in the chat? Canon and Nikon both will have the best mirrorless. Yeah, I think they're gonna. Who said that? The chat. I got to learn how to scroll up here. Someone said about the. Yeah, go ahead, David.
Yeah, Trevor said, how are the prices for the Canon RF lenses? Well, they're not cheap, but they're similar prices to what you'll pay for the Sony GM lenses. So I don't think that's really an issue. I think that the thing here is that lenses now tend to be where the camera manufacturers are going to make their money, because obviously the bodies are dropping down in price. If you look at the latest models that are coming out, they are tending to be a little bit cheaper, like what Canon now are doing with what Sony, the A7 III, have done. But they're certainly making money on their lenses, because they've realized that the lenses they won't sell as many. In other words, because people don't, they keep them for a long, long time.
Exactly.
Whereas the bodies, they might, replace them every, say, 2 years or so. So the lenses aren't cheap, but you get what you pay for, basically.
Yep, I do agree with that one. Shall we move on to the next story?
Yes.
Let's go to, I think it was, oh yeah, another lens story. This one looks, yeah, here, can you guys see that? No. Where did I,
Well, this is going to be why Aaron's getting that out. We're talking about the Nikon. It's the 2470mm 2.8. So for the Z series cameras that have been announced. So Nikon again are also now starting to release a couple of lenses as well. This is quite nice because it looks like it's very well made. It's a 2.8. So if eventually you're going to have the 70 to 200 and the 2470 and probably the 16 to 35. But at least now they've given this staple lens that most like wedding photographers use and things like that, which is the 2470 2.8. Looks like it's quite nice. It's nano coated. It has the AM or the autofocus and the manual switch. It's also got what I think is a couple of buttons on the side that you can obviously program for doing different things like IAF and things like that, I would say.
Yeah.
But if it's typical Nikon glass, it even has a indicator to show your feet, like the Batis has, which is quite nice as well.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
So, yeah, which is nice. It says it has the LFM button, lets you set over 20 custom functions for shooting still photos. So you can program 20 functions on the button on the actual lens. Looks pretty good.
Yeah, it looks really, really nice. Does it say the price in here anywhere?
I don't think it does at this stage. I'm just trying to see if it does down the bottom. No, there's nothing about price. Oh, yes, it does. It says it's $2,300. That'd be United States dollars. So again, they're not cheap. Like I said, nothing is cheap in that realm, and they're all tending to be about a similar price if you get the quality 2.8 lenses, apart from Tamron, which seems to buck the trend and is giving us really good lenses at a really affordable price. But if you want to get the name brand, like I said, the original name brand, like what matches your camera, like Nikon, Sony, or Canon, you're going to pay a premium, that's for sure.
Yep, that is true. That is very true. Anything in the chat, David?
Let me just have a look.
Someone wants to ask a dumb question.
What's the dumb question?
It says, why not go to 85 on these zooms? Is it generally better to see the primes at the focal range? I think I read that properly.
Well, are you saying not getting an 85 prime, you mean? It's more the aperture is the thing that you're dealing with the primes. Primes tend to also be a fraction sharper, but if you get good zoom lenses now, that really is so close that it doesn't matter anymore. The issue is the aperture that you're dealing with there, that the aperture, if you want to shoot with 1.4, 1.8, that 1.2, you have to have prime lenses because there's nothing available at those focal lengths
in a
to
zoom.
Shoot. Yeah, like that in the zoom.
It'd be just way too big to get that.
Yeah,
so
it'd be massive, yeah. And plus then I think it also would be very slow focusing.
Yep.
Remember, the larger the glass is and the more glass it has to move around,
the motor,
the slower it will focus. That's why the Sony 85 1.8 is a quicker focus. It focuses much faster than the 85 1.4.
Yeah, exactly, because the glass is lighter and the motors can drive it quicker. All right, now what was on the next list? We have
it's a Fuji XT30.
Yep, the Fuji XT30.
330, I mean, yeah, was the next one. So this is quite interesting. We did talk about this actually in the last show. We discussed this camera. And it seems to be that Fuji have released quite a nice little camera here. It's about $900 as a rough price, but US. But it seems like it's got the typical Fuji ergonomics, everything's tactile that's on there. On the back of the actual camera itself, there's now a joystick, which is nice. It doesn't have an articulating screen. It won't even fold up, so it's like the Sonys are at the moment, which is a bit of a shame that they couldn't get that into this camera. But overall, it looks really nice, nice and small. apparently it's got a reasonable EVF. It's only a 2.36 million dot EVF, so it's the same basically as the A7 R2s and other cameras that are out there. It hasn't got the high def one, but for the price, you can't expect that. Having a real high def EVF in there just won't happen. It says battery life seems to be a slight improvement over its predecessor. You've got 380 shots, but you know that you're going to get way more than that.
Those are those. It's always so underrated. Those shots that it can't, like, way underrated.
It is. I think it does 4K, but I think it's only for a very short period of time.
I can't find it here, but I think it's like 10 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But I haven't got an issue with that, and I like I only ever shoot clips for a few seconds for each clip anyway. So that doesn't bother me at all. But it's certainly an interesting camera. It's certainly interesting if you are in the Fuji, realm, where you've got that cameras and accessories that are there. This is giving you a great, affordable entry-level Fuji camera that's sort of just been released, and you know that they're going to keep it updated with firmware that's come out. So if you're a Fuji lover, you've got a little bit of love there. Seems like it's got everything that you need. Great little camera. And
the other cool thing about it, if you're a video shooter, it has external HDMI recording capable of 422 10-bit quality.
Yes.
That's like really, really good. So we're going to talk about the next product, and if you get an external recorder or something like that, it could be really, really good for video for a reasonable price. And of course, with Fuji, you get all those. I know everybody loves those little color profiles they have. Now, in photography, it's a lot of people shoot RAW, so you don't really get those colors to venture over to RAW, I don't think. But at least in the video, you could use those different color profiles. So that's pretty cool. Nice little camera.
Well, it says on there that it does 4K 30p. It's 10-bit 422 output via HDMI and 8-bit 420 internal. So that's pretty good.
It's really good for that little camera there. Yeah, I think it's nice.
It just says if you want to get 4K 60, you've obviously got to upgrade to the XT3.
Yeah, well, I just saw something there. I don't know. Now, I'd never had a Fuji before. If anybody leaves in the comments on like what would be a good lens for that. Now, I see a lot of people shoot with, I think it's the Fujifilm 52 point something lens, f1 point, I don't know. Leave that in the comments because I would like to know what you guys think would be a good lens to attach to this bad boy. And in the meantime, we are going to go to the next little thing here, and that is this, what do you call that? The Shinobi.
Yeah, I can't sort of pronounce it. Actually, bear with me because I'm going to go and grab just talk for a second. I'm going to grab the monitor that I use.
Yeah, go for it. We are going to, let's see how we go to desktop. This one here. We can look at this for a little while. The Adamus, I can go over to chat. I can read the chat. Oh, he's back already. Never mind. We got the XT30 has a mode dial too. Impressive. I hope the A7000 has the mode dial too. Yeah, mode dials are really cool, and that's kind of one thing I'm missing on the Sony A7 III actually. Okay, David, you're back. You got something for us?
Yeah, well, I'm using this, the small HD. Let me just see if I can take up my face so it goes into focus. I'm using the small HD, and I love this. Like, it's really good. Look how dirty it is. I must clean that. But this, I'm not certain about which one I'd prefer out of this Atmos or this one because they both do very, very similar things. But I do really love this, and I believe this one is a fraction lighter than what the Atmos is. But I think it's a brighter screen because I'm pretty sure that the one that I'm using here, the small HD, is only 700 nits, whereas this one is 1000. So if you're using this in daylight, it looks like it would be much brighter than what you'd get for the others. Apart from that, though, they're doing very, very similar things. But it's an interesting concept. The difference here is, unlike the Ninja V, you can't record to this. So this is only a monitor that you can view if you wanted to sort of look at something external.
Yeah, now see, I've had monitors for a long time, and because of you have to plug them in and all that stuff, have an extra battery, I never use monitors really. So for me, it's something that I never use, but I know tons of people use those. And of course, now when we're just not getting flippy screens on these, it's kind of a must-have if you want to use a high-end camera and vlog these days. What did you use yours for?
Well, really, it was only for vlogging. All I ever did was have that facing me.
Yeah.
So that I could see what I was doing. If you watch any of the videos of Kiara and she's doing stupid things, all I have to do is put that on the front of the camera facing her. She sees herself in the camera and she goes stupid because she can see herself in there. But that's really all I ever did it for, was so I could see myself when I'm shooting, because it's usually just me when I go out and do these vlogs and these shoots. So I need something where I can see myself filming, make sure that the frame's looking correct and everything else, because they simply don't have that fold-out screen that would make life so much easier.
Wouldn't that make life easy if they just did that? There's a reason they're not doing it, and I don't know why.
But it looks good. I mean, you know, you've got full histograms on there.
Yeah,
and
you got
like
all the scopes
You'll have
and everything.
All the reverse color and scopes and all that sort of stuff, which can be handy. And I do like using that on my that monitor that I've got there. But it seems like it's fairly good. But you know, it is $400 if you wanted to purchase one. But we just thought I'd just show it to see that it's something now that's available. And apparently you can buy that straight away. It's available immediately. So, you know, that's interesting as well. The only downside is sometimes I've also got the Shogun, which is here. I'll see if I won't grab it. Yeah, I've got the Shogun.
Oh, you do got a Shogun.
Oh, yeah, I've got that here. I'll move it around so you can see it.
Get it out. We like to see toys.
Yeah, so I've got that one, which is the 4K one.
Oh, nice.
That has the external hard drive on the back. So I have got that, and that's how I go about getting the videos where I show me with the internal functions of the camera being shown, like the menu and everything else. So if you do want to do that, you can use that. I also bought that because it gets around the time limit. If originally when I went to Sony, there was the time limit that was there. Well, the second you start recording to that, the time limit's gone, and you can also go straight to ProRes and things like that, which is nice if you're editing, because there's no conversion in your editing software required. It just works straight away.
It's really,
if you
really
go
nice.
into Apple ProRes, yeah. So I've got a few things.
First of all, Casper, right now I'm using Casper is asking what lens do I use for video work. I used all kind of different lenses, but right now my preferred lens is the Sony Zeiss 55mm. I find that I'm finding 50mm for me. I don't want to go too long into this, but 50mm for me on full frame was just kind of an eye-opener since I've been shooting most of my time on micro four thirds, and a 50mm I can just do so much with that. So right now that's kind of my go-to lens. We'll probably get into lenses on another episode. Someone else asked, Joe asked, how's the island doing? Puerto Rico's doing good, Joe. Thanks for asking. Family in Dorado. I go to Dorado quite often. Love that place. So thanks for being here, Joe. Hope you all subscribe and also give us some thumbs up. And we will do a little commercial here about we got to plug this, David. Oh, I just X'd out of it. Can you? The Facebook group. Do you have it available? The Facebook group.
Yeah, I can bring it up.
We're going to show this off because I just don't want to forget about this.
Yeah, so don't forget to join us on this group here, Photography and Videography School. Make sure you join us on there, because that's the area you can see I've plugged Aron, this live show coming up there. But you know, everything's shared on here. It's for you guys, and it's an extension of Aron's and also my YouTube channel. Aron's a moderator on there as well. So you know, just join us in there, because it's got some fantastic topics that people are sort of posting all the time. You know, and it's a very positive place. There's no, we don't allow prima donnas in here at all. If you ask for critique, we're not going to let anyone pull you to pieces and be nasty or anything like that. The second anyone's nasty, they're going to get booted. So it is different to most other sites out there. We're getting close to 4,000 members now, so it's growing really quite big. But we allow you to do anything, you know, which is things like sharing your YouTube page, sharing your Instagram, your web pages if you'd like critiquing, have critiquing of work. The only thing you can't do is post live to it. That's the only thing we insist. So
very cool.
Yeah, please join us on there, guys.
Yeah, so I just wanted to plug that, and again, thanks everybody for coming here. Subscribe to my channel, subscribe to David's channel. Give this video a thumbs up right now. Give it a big kerplunk, and go over to that Facebook group and go over there because we want a lot of like-minded people. We want to build this community of nice people who can critique stuff in a very nice way and not a harsh way and all that stuff. Okay, so
we must have the hater that's following me around though, because there's already one thumbs down.
we get all those. I mean, you could say, you know, children are great and let's raise them up and someone will thumb it down somehow. Kind of weird, but
I love it.
okay, okay, that was our last story, wasn't it, David?
No, we've got one more which is talking about oh no, that's the main story. Yes, a little bit later on actually.
Okay, so
we're going to talk about the Sigma a little bit later on.
Yeah, right now we're going to talk a little bit about just kind of a side story. We're going to talk about pixel peeping. Should we talk about that real quick, David?
Yes, why not?
Okay, pixel peeping. Now, I looked up, you know, what Google terms as pixel peeping and peeping. Sorry. It says right here, a term typically takes a derogatory.
Just to let you know too, Aaron, I think you've still switched on to, is that behind on, it's still showing the desktop with the camera there. Is that correct?
No, it's just me and you now.
Okay, thanks.
So I think you're behind on the YouTube. So the pixel peeping is a term that typically takes on a derogatory tone. It's the process of viewing an image at 100% or greater in order to examine pixels in a minute detail with the intent of looking for pixel level defects. Now, in the beginning of the show, if you got on there, I had the jeweler's goggles on here, and I was pixel peeping the magazine because, of course, we know that's absolutely a ridiculous thing to do. And that brings me to the point of pixel peeping when it comes. Okay, when do I pixel peep? I pixel peep when I'm looking at two new lenses and I just want to see what it's capable of. If I get a new camera, I want to see what it's capable of. So I just don't blindlessly go out there and shoot something. But what I've seen it becoming is when you put a piece of work out there, people will just like zoom in past the model and say, look at the chromatic aberration, how terrible, you should have never used that lens, this is ridiculous. I mean, it gets so crazy when, you know, people are saying like, or they're looking at the bokeh of the photo, and it's become like, instead of, you know, people use bokeh to, everybody says it to isolate the model from the background, but what do? They zoom right back here and they start critiquing the bokeh. So it's just something that's kind of funny in the world of photography today, where pixel peeping is not viewing it 100%. They're viewing it 500% and wondering why it doesn't look good. And I do shoot things for magazines. In fact, do I have something in this one? I just picked this off the shelf. Let's see. I found here. So I did, this is my wife actually here. I took that photo and I took all the photos on this page. Thanks, David. I took the photos on this page actually. It's a commercial for a jewelry store. And I do magazine stuff all the time. We just did one. I didn't do this one. I did her before for the next magazine coming up. But when this could be easily an 8 megapixel or a 10 megapixel photo. It would look great on there. I did 3 billboards here in Puerto Rico, in Maya West, Puerto Rico, on a Micro Four Thirds. You couldn't tell the difference from any of the other billboards. And it's just funny how we just zoom in on people's work and tell how terrible the lens is. And when you put stuff up, yeah, right? It's just like ridiculous. And when you put stuff, how many photographers watching this now go to Instagram and just zoom into every photo? It doesn't happen. So what do you think about pixel peeping?
Oh, it drives me nuts. I've talked about this before, honestly. Like I said, these are the people that are sitting down in their grandmother's basement, never, ever doing any real work.
They don't have a portfolio.
They're basically scientists, or they think they are. They're not artists, that's for sure. Because who honestly gives a whatever about how this thing looks at 1,000% or whatever they want to blow it up to in a pixel size.
Exactly.
I've never, ever had a client, like I said to you, that ever pixel peeps. All they look at is the emotion of the image, how it looks to them on a print or on the screen at normal size. You know, they're not going to blow it up and say, oh, my God, the chromatic aberrations on this thing look ridiculous and it's not sharp at this. I've never had a client even say an
Exactly.
image is not sharp. It's about the emotion of the image, what you're trying to portray in the image. But these are the difference. This is why, Aaron, you and me will make money, and these people sitting in their garages at home are never going to make money because all they think about is the pixels. They don't think about the art.
Yeah, they don't think about the art at all. And viewing distance, like this, like I said, this could have been an 8 megapixel photo that would 8 megapixels can be blown up at a nice size, and at the viewing distance of all the stuff, pixel peeping, pixel peep if you're gonna try out a new camera or whatever that, but just don't go overboard on it and just start bad mouthing people's photos because you're pixel peeping is my point basically. So, anyways, leave some comments. Any comments on pixel peeping?
No, there's nothing. Oh, yeah, we have Langston said, I think pixel peeping misses the point of photography. I mean, on one hand, you do want sharp, good-looking glass, but after a certain point, I'm focusing on the details and missing the overall. Well, look, the thing is, too, the worst place you can go for this is DP Review. If you go into those forums on DP Review,
oh my,
they will tear your image apart, these garage-dwelling people that are living there. and if you try and look for any of their work, they have never got any work that they can show. And this is why I laugh about this whole thing, because they criticize looking at the pixel level, but they've never got any work to actually show and prove that they're actual photographers. And I guarantee you, it takes two different brains. You have an artistic side of you, it's like this left and right.
Yeah.
You have an artistic side of your brain. These pixel peepers are not thinking from the artistic side of their brain. They're analytical. They're that type of person. They're not photographers. They're basically scientists or data type people that go in and read the stuff with densitometers and read all this stuff, by reading percentages and formulas. This lens can't be any good because this curve shows. And who gives a crap? It's what it looks like to the average viewer that matters. It's what it looks like to your client that matters. It doesn't matter if you get approval from these pixel peepers. They're irrelevant. The only people that matter are the actual artist, is the artist yourself and the client. That's all that matters. I'm in it to make money. I'm also in it to be an artist, that I want my work to have emotion and feeling. I don't care if it's not sharp at the pixel level at all. In fact, I've sometimes submitted to a client images that are out of focus, and I know they're out of focus, but the image was beautiful. I've still submitted it to them, and that's been one of their favorite images. Clients do not care. Yeah,
they don't. I did videos showing that as well, and I'm so glad I brought this up because you went into it in way more in depth than I could have even thought. So that's really good. So anybody watching this video, don't be discouraged if you put your work out there and they're crapping on it because of the quality or something of that. Now, quality is important, so don't get us wrong. And someone just posted here that I think it was Joe that says the only person I pixel peep is myself to make sure my images is spot on, and that's what I'm saying. If you're out there filming, of course, or shooting, you want to look to make sure it looks good and all that. But it's that arrogance of people just like going right past the focus of interest and looking at the bokeh and saying how terrible it is because you should use a different lens. So.
Well, they talk about onion bokeh. They talk about the difference between this round bokeh and an onion. And like I said, I've never had a client that says, David, oh my God, I'm not going to buy that image because the bokeh is shaped like onions. I just can't handle it. What type of gear are you using? It doesn't happen. All they look at is the image. In fact, they'll look at it and say, that looks beautifully out of focus. They'll say the lights look beautiful, how they are. They don't look at it like, oh, it's got onion rings going through the bokeh and it's just not good enough. The only people that do that are the pixel peeping photographers. And I'm not saying you don't have to look at that yourself, but I'm saying for clients, it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters to clients is the emotion of that image, and that's all that matters. Yep,
that's what I always try to. That's why I think me and David get along great, because we know the real thing, what really matters, not all this other little stuff. Although we do know about that and like to talk about it. So
Trevor said, I think pixel peeping is useful for differentiating the technical features of gear.
Yeah.
It's completely useless for further or discussing the craft or art of photography. Yeah, it has nothing to do with the art at all. Because I can guarantee you a good photographer will still be able to make an amazing image with an iPhone. Now, I know you're going to say, oh, but it's not an iPhone. I can still tell you it's the idea that is the hard thing to do. And as cameras get better and better, like, you know, looking at this A6400, I tried a bit of it last night, and I can tell you the focus is incredible. But you still have to have that idea to make the art in the image. And the art in the image is the only thing at the end of the day that is going to keep you in a job. The technology will not do that. It's the thought process behind what you're trying to shoot. It's the thought process behind what aperture you use, what shutter speed you use, how you incorporated lighting into that, using natural light and, you know, off-camera flash. They're the important things that matter, not whether it's got onion rings showing in the background of your bokeh.
Yeah, so don't get caught up in it too much unless that's your thing and you love the technical thing and just want to keep going on about that. So we're going to change subjects because we're only got 10 minutes and we still never get to our tutorials at the end of our show.
I just wanted to answer Gene too, because Gene asked, he said, are you guys using OBS for streaming? Yes, Aaron is using OBS. I'm using Wirecast and I'm using the Ultra Studio Mini recorder to record in. How are you going into the computer, Aaron?
Yeah, I just use OBS, of course, and talking about pixel peeping is I'm using just an inexpensive USB webcam, and when I use that to do my other like videos not live, I recorded a high quality or whatever, and I just had someone comment on one of my, it was kind of funny, he commented on a video saying, wow, what camera are you using? And it was this setup you see here, and why it looks so, it's not going to look good while I'm streaming here, but on my other videos, I still don't think it looks the greatest, but he thought it looked great, and it's because of the lighting, the contrast.
That's right.
I'm shooting at 30p or 60p, I can't remember. Probably 60p, so I'm not motion blurry and all that. That's a perfect example of not the gear, it's how you light and do all those things. But that's what I'm using, OBS. And for my audio, I'm just using a Zoom H1. I've got this little mic right here. It's a little lav mic. This is actually a ham radio antenna just taped to my desk, into my Zoom, and then into the computer. And pretty basic, pretty easy, and yeah, that's my setup.
What else have we got? Yeah, we better move on. We are starting.
I know we're gonna.
Yeah, it always happens.
We gotta try to format this different, maybe with less things, because I don't think I'm going to be able to get in my tutorial again, David, because it's just gonna.
No, we'll just keep going.
Okay. Next time we're going to do the tutorials. We're going to figure out how to do all this. What was the next story? The Sigma.
We're gonna show our work first.
Our work.
So
we got to show
that.
Work. We didn't even do that yet. Oh my gosh.
So I can. Well, I'll only take a couple of minutes. I mean, I can switch to my screen if you want me to go first.
Yeah, do yours first, and then I'm going to do you full screen here and go.
Okay, so this was an image. Now, if you want to see the video of this, check down a couple of videos on my YouTube channel, and you'll find the video that I actually shot here.
We'll leave the links in the comments too of this video.
Okay. So you have a look at it. Now, this was basically shot with the Sony a7 III, and it was the 28-75. Now, I handheld this, and I wanted to get enough ambient light into this image. So because this camera has stabilization, I could use 1/40th of a second, because I know people are going to say, why did you use such a slow shutter speed? 1/40th at 55 mil with that camera is nothing. I can handhold it 1 second if I need to. But all I wanted to do is make sure I get the ambient exposure correct. So I balanced for that first. And then you can see that I've used, Kerry was actually standing, because she assisted me here. Kerry was standing just off camera with the Profoto B10, and she was lighting Kiara up with continuous light. So she was just pointing towards Kiara, and I balanced that continuous light because it's color controllable. I balanced the lighting to match the ambient lighting. So that's how you can see the highlights that are being formed on Kiara coming through here. You can see too, the pose is very important here. I wanted, with it too, I wanted to get the leading lines sort of coming down there to show this beautiful ambient. And that's the reason why I wanted to shoot as well at 2.8, because I wanted to show enough of this gorgeous architecture in the background. I didn't want to blow all of that out. But the important thing here is Kiara's pose. You'll notice that I've had her point her legs down very long. The feet, it's very important that they're not turned at funny angles. That's why I always make sure that their feet are at beautiful angles like this. And I always tell people to try and make lovely curves and triangles. You can see here that there's a lovely curve going through here. The arm is nicely sort of bent. It's not dead straight. The arm also here is bent, and her head is on a nice angle through the side through here as well. That's very, very important when you're dealing with this type of shot. You'll also notice too, it's very important with a female or anyone really to sit them right on the end of the bench, because if she sat further back, there'd be a lump basically where her legs are and it would kick in. So you sit them as far forward as is comfortable, and you'll get that nice type of pose coming through here. But I love this shot. I love the light sort of streaming in from the areas that are over here as well. I love the light that's sitting up the top up there, and and I think it's balanced fairly nice as well. So that's really all my images today, Aaron.
Yeah, that's a beautiful, beautiful shot, and how you explain it is like perfect, because that is a lot of what you just talked about is like knowledge dropping, because a lot of people don't understand what lines are doing to the photo and how it brings your eyes into certain areas and the highlights. And you said about the posing. Perfect. Well done, David. Love it.
Thanks.
Now we'll go to full screen me. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. Nope. There. We're going to explain my photo here. Now, I took this with a Nikon D750, and my idea behind this was to light it in a way to get the shadows to how you call it. I wish I had that pen that you had. I guess I'll use my little cursor here. But here's the railing of the stairs, and I wanted to get the flash to create these shadows that you see, because without these shadows, thanks man, without these shadows it would have been very boring. And of course you could see that the flash is creating all these shadows all over the steps, because without those shadows this would have just been very, very boring. And how I have this is off of camera left here. I can't quite show you here, but over, like if I were to stand here, it's over my left shoulder. And in order to get the soft light, I actually have it bounce back onto a white wall, and then it's coming back as like a big soft box, lighting up, this is my wife here, with a soft light and creating all these shadows through here. And in order to make this look better too, and a little more romantic feel, we added the candles. And it did. What I wanted to is to have some backlighting so she wouldn't just disappear into the darkness. Now, it didn't turn out quite the way I wanted it, but I have a flash right behind her shoulder blades here, and it's actually shining on, just blasting the back of her basically, and that's what's creating kind of a natural vignette of light around her. And we just carefully just posed her till it looked good. We had, just like David said, to sit on the edge. This is exactly what I did here. I had her move up on the edge, and that just gives them more of a form to their body than if you had them go all the way back and they kind of start slumping. And that's what I did here. And the feet position, now you got to be careful. Any body part that is coming right toward the camera can look odd. So, I had her drop this leg down here, and just naturally by doing that, we're not having a knee come right at the camera, and we have her in like a tippy toe type of which always kind of looks pretty when the girls are on their tippy toes. And I had her do a tippy toe here, because if she would have just went flat-footed, it wouldn't have looked very nice, because then you would have had the same problem of her foot coming straight toward the camera. And that's basically it, how I set this up. I don't remember the settings, so I apologize for that. And we just took several poses of her looking different ways, and that is my shot of the week.
Lovely. I love the candles too. It's quite nice. And it is interesting how you mentioned the feet there, because you do have to be very, very careful with anything going closer to the camera than what the head is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The bride or whoever I'm shooting to lean right forward, and it looks really odd when you look at it, because they're sort of leaning right forward. But what it does is it balances that
It's true.
that distortion that a wide angle lens will give you, or something being forward of the camera and bringing the face forward balances it. But it doesn't bother me in that image at all. I think it's actually quite lovely there. Yeah, and it's nice. Yeah, I haven't got a problem with that one.
She is actually kind of leaning forward, kind of alleviating that. Because, yeah, if she were to lean back, then her legs would look really big and her head would be very small. So, yep, that's a good... I don't know if that happened by accident. This was a while ago, but that's a good pointer, David Oastler. Okay.
I just noticed too that I just wanted to answer Torben, because he said, I'm not sure why it's so terrible to pixel peep as long as you don't sacrifice any of the important stuff for it. The notion that it has to be one or the other is a little ridiculous. It's not really that we're saying that, Torben. It's more that you're getting so many people. There's nothing wrong with pixel peeping your own work and having a look at what you're doing there.
Exactly.
The issue is that a lot of the pixel peepers out there aren't artists at all. They are just solely number crunchers that just look up things to try and find faults with an image that's not there at normal viewing. That's all. Yeah,
that's exactly well said. Okay, David. Well, it's 10 o'clock. What other thing do we have going on here?
Well, we wanted to discuss, unless you wanted to leave that for next time, we had the Sigma, which we haven't got through. We also wanted to talk about how to expose skin tone in video using spot metering. Well, why don't you just do that, Aaron, because you were going to do that last week.
Okay, well, let's try to do that really quick. That's going to be kind of complicated. Let me go full screen here. Okay, so this is just going to be really quick. But when you let me bring up my, let's see if I can do all this. Let's go with my desktop. Okay, so this is just a video of me doing a YouTube video, just for an example. And when you want to use a, how can I get on here as well? Sorry, guys. Okay, I'm up here in the corner. Hello. When you want to get skin tone, like if you're doing a video production and you have a director asking for a certain aperture and all that stuff, what we used to use is light meters. And a light meter, if you guys probably know that, you usually put it under the chin and you get the meter of the light and you know what settings of the camera to put to get proper skin tones or whatever you're going for. And so I did a video of this a long time ago, I think on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera actually, but I just wanted to tell you guys one quick way to get perfect skin tones is if you see this graph, let's see, I think I'm cutting the graph off. If I do this, okay. If you look at this graph, this is a waveform monitor, and what it basically shows you is 100 is up here, that is like 100% blown out or pure white, and 0 down here is pure black, and we could see that by if we were to crush this all the way to black, whoops, wrong one. We crush this all the way to, or white, we could see that it went up to 100, and likewise if we crushed it all the way to black, down to 100, we have no image. Kind of like a histogram in essence, but what this is showing us is IRE levels, and if I play this, let's see if hopefully this works. If I play this video, you can see here me moving in the waveform monitor here. You can actually see my hand go up, you can see my shoulders go up, and you can see my head is right in this vicinity here. Let me pause that. And what this is showing me here is that my head or my face or my skin tone is at around 50 IRE, which isn't where we want it. We want this to be in around 60. 60 IRE is going to give you really close to perfect skin tone. And why it's so important is when you're filming on these cameras with crappy codecs, the more you push and pull the footage, the more it's going to look crappy. So you want to try to get it right in camera because we're not shooting RAW or ProRes or anything like that. So if you see that my face is here at 50, if we were to pull this, whoops, this one here, if we pull this up, you're going to see this is my face. We're getting closer to 60 IRE. Now, if you look at my face here, which is not a very flattering looking face, you can see that it's more of a proper skin tone. So that's why I wanted to show you guys on how to get that in camera to look right. With almost any camera, let me see if I go full screen here. Boop. If you go into the camera now, photographers usually use multi-metering mode. And if you go into the metering mode, which I don't know if I want to go into all that, let's do it. You want to go to, just so I know the proper lingo, metering mode. You want to change it to spot metering, because spot metering is going to allow you to have a spot. Now, you're not going to see this because Sony doesn't allow us to brighten up our little like rectangle, so you're not going to see that on there. But you want to put on spot metering, and when you have your key light here, you want to put that spot meter right on the forehead or wherever that light's hitting the most. And on these cameras, you want to make sure that your meter says about about a half a stop over. Now, if I were to read that meter and have it at 0, then that means the camera's trying to make my skin gray, and it's going to be underexposed. So almost all skin tones, if you want to get proper skin tone, make sure that that spot metering reads a stop, a half a stop to sometimes a full stop overexposed, which is actually going to give you a 60 IRE on a waveform monitor. So now a lot of you video guys kind of know what I'm saying here, and I'm running through this, but I just want to kind of throw that out there on how you can get proper skin tones. And then so if you turned out all the lights and had the key light, put the spot metering on your camera there, make sure that it reads a half a stop over, you know that's good. Then you want to turn on your fill light and then do a spot metering on that. Now you can take your camera off and just go over there and do it if you don't want to use a light meter, but sometimes you can just do it from the tripod. And that's how you kind of balance a contrast ratio, which we can go into later on how bright this side is opposed to this side. If it's a 1-to-1 contrast ratio, that means this key light is going to be the same brightness as that. And that's how you get it. Sorry for the really quick explanation, but if you have more questions about it, leave some comments after the show, and hopefully we can get to that. And that's about it, David, in a run through. Did you want to go over? It was very quick and run through it, but I think
it's really interesting. That's the thing I love about this show, is we're going to be able to give things from video perspective plus stills. There's nowhere out there that does this. So you know, as this grows, it's going to be an amazing resource, I think, which is terrific. Now we'll do my monitor calibration in the next show, Aaron. We'll just keep it down to one, otherwise it's going to go too long.
Yeah, maybe
Let's
we
just
can
have
do that.
A quick look at questions before we finish. I'm just going to read a couple out.
This will be questions and answer time.
Gerald's just saying he's going to take a short cruise trip shortly, only taking the 24 megapixel A9s. I'll have no worries. My pixels will be bad. What else have we got?
Thanks for being here, Gerald.
I'm sure that both of you took great photos when there was only 8 megapixel cameras. Yeah, well, I used a D3S for ages, the Nikon, and that was 12 megapixels. Trev said, have you found the A6400 AF tends to seek out the focus of trees at all? That's for a video that was posted the other day.
I know, David.
I'm not going to discuss that.
That's weird, yeah. I mean, I use this all the time in video. I do commercials for TV networks, and I've never, even on this Roku Samyang 24 millimeter, which it's not even an updated version, I never have focus issues. So no, I don't focus on trees.
I don't know what he's doing. I'm not going to say the name, but I do not know what that guy is doing with Sony cameras. There's clearly something going on, or he's got bodgy cameras that someone's giving him, or he just has got no clue about how to use focusing modes or whatever on the camera.
It's not even that difficult, I don't know.
No, it's not. That's what makes me laugh about the whole thing. I'm DeBrown's in here. G'day, mate. He said, my eyes are so bad I couldn't pixel peep with a telescope. You need what Aaron had at the beginning of the show.
Jeweler's goggles.
Torben said, so shoot me. No, we're not going to shoot you, Torben. You're allowed to have your opinion. That's the whole thing about this.
For sure.
Because he says he's a pixel peeper. I love the technical aspect. Good on you, mate, if that's what you like doing.
Yeah, for sure.
42 Pro says Telethon 2 is going to be happening. That's... Gian says, lovely images. Thank you. I'm just scrolling down to try and do this as quickly as possible so we can get these. Justin said, thanks, David Oastler. I assume a large diffuser. His question was that Kiara has nice eyes, and she does. How do you deal with models that have dark eyes? And I said the thing to do, Aaron, is to lift the model's face up towards the light, bring in artificial light, and add fill to fill in those areas of lighting that is causing an issue. If it's particularly bad, the only way you can fix it is in post.
Yeah, well, catch light is the terminology that we use in video and photography, and we always, especially in video, is even if we have the light set up like I just told you guys, sometimes we'll even have just a, well, back then it was an LED, but now LED, just a very dim LED light that doesn't really increase the the exposure just to get a catch light. So when you're looking through the camera and you turn on an LED, you can move that around to get a catch light. Because my wife has dark eyes, so I'm like really particular about I don't get it all the time, especially with natural light. Sometimes I fail. But yeah, catch light is the way you can have that sparkle in the eye. You don't lose the eye. Again, like he was saying, if you have a large brow and you're just getting raccoon eyes, meaning it's just shadow there, lifting up the light, getting a bounce to fill in that also helps the raccoon eyes, and the catch lights can bring that sparkle.
Now, this is a good one for you, Aaron, because N. Thomas says, Aaron, does this apply to darker skin tones as well?
It does. If you, of course, there's a balance there, but if you, like I said, I'm talking about just using this instead of a light meter, because I'm a one-man band on almost everything I do, so I stopped using light meters running back and forth. This gets me almost perfect, the 60 IRE. If you're at 60 IRE by overexposing by 1, and you're looking at it, you can use your own intuition if the person has darker skin to increase the exposure a little bit, but it's still going to give you so close to, even when you're using compressed codecs, that you could still nudge that just a bit, like I showed you just using this webcam, that even though I was at 50, which is kind of far off, but like this is a stupid webcam here, you can still get close even with darker skin tones by using that same rule of thumb, but you have to use your own eye. I was going to say something else while I was talking, but I forget. But
does that, if you've got a light meter, for instance, I use one for the still side of things with flash.
Yeah.
If you're using it for video, does it work exactly the same way as your still photography, where you just take a reading and put your aperture in, and that will give you the IRE of 60, 70? Is that how it works?
Pretty much, but you got to remember that you don't want to change your shutter speed. So when you're doing video, that's one thing when I went to photography, like, this is easy. I can actually change my shutter speed. I mean, what the heck? When it comes to video, you have to keep that there, so you don't really have a triangle to work with. In essence, you can change if you want, but if you have a strict director and he wants, 24 frames per second, you're going to be shooting at 48 shutter speed, or 50 is all we got. And if he wants an f/5.6 or an f/2.8 or an f/4 background blur, now you can't move that. So all you have is the light meter to tell you, well, then I need to increase the ISO or increase the light or back the light up or put diffusion. So it's the same. It's pretty much the same. Just a little more in a box on that.
Cool. That's about it, I think. So Gerald just said thanks for both of you. You inspire us both.
Thank you, Gerald. Thanks everybody for being here.
That's about it. Well, that's about all, guys. Stay tuned. Next week, it'll obviously be on my channel again, so stay tuned for that. At the moment, we're both sharing it, though, until the numbers start to pick up. We're both sharing the whole show live. So, I'll download this and put it on my channel, as well as Aaron's doing that when I do the live one as well.
Actually, I didn't.
So that's about
I don't think I did that. I got to learn how to.
Oh, yeah, you should, Aaron.
I got to learn how to download it. So I'm going to do that on the next week. So, hey, guys, thank you so much for stopping by. It means a lot. We want to build this community with like-minded, nice people with good. There's no dumb question. Ask us questions. After these videos, if we didn't answer your question, leave it in the comments, because tomorrow when we're not doing nothing and we get a comment in the description, we'll do that. And in the description, we always try to leave the links that we talked about and all the good stuff. So thank you so much. Give us a like. Give us a subscription. Tomorrow, next week, it's on David's channel.
Catch you next week, guys.
Okay. Bye, guys. Thanks a lot.